Hey, so just before we get started here real quick, I'm about to call myself Iceman. Nikki's about to make fun of that. But before we get into that, what are you doing in your free time? I sure hope that you're playing Best Fiends.
I am.
And if you're not playing Best Fiends yet, you should be. It's hours of fun that you can enjoy anytime.
And it's like when you're like waiting for annoying things, or if you're like trying to procrastinate on important things, you could be playing Best Fiends.
And it has a lot of puzzles. It has cute characters.
I freaking love puzzles.
Yep. And it's got a bunch of new levels added every day. Okay, one of the best things to do, you play that Best Fiends, you listen to Shit They Don't Tell You.
Yeah.
You listen to Shit They Don't Tell You After Dark, and now you're sucked all the way in, and you're able to enjoy progression while you also get progress in your life. Best Fiends has thousands of levels already, with new levels, events, and characters added every month. It's hours of fun right at your fingertips, and you can even play offline. Best Fiends has over 100 million downloads and tons of 5-star reviews. Best Fiends is a must-play. Download Best Fiends free on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R, Best Fiends.
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 Hello, welcome back to Shit They Don't Tell You. Today we are talking about debt. Oh yeah, I'm Nikki Limo.
I'm Steve Green.
Just Steve Green. Steve Green, what you know about debt?
I know that I used to be in debt.
Yeah, same.
And the internet thinks that you got me out of debt.
That's hilarious.
It's so funny.
Can I still take credit even though I did not get
No, you
Steve
can't.
out of debt?
It's so funny how people who watch YouTube videos extrapolate information.
It's got to be just a small sector of people,
Of course it
because
is.
there was a small sector of people that thought that I just married you for your money too, which is like...
That's super funny too.
That's not
I
true
am
at all.
wildly wealthy though.
I married him after you got out of a $13,000 IRS debt.
That's correct.
So at least I didn't inherit a $13,000 bill, but definitely didn't marry you for your money.
Definitely not.
I married you for your big personality.
Thank you.
Giant personality.
I got with you because you're fun.
Okay, we don't have to go over it.
Okay.
You can watch any other episode to hear Steve praise me. Today we're talking about debt.
Yeah.
And we did a money management episode. We also did a credit card episode with Joe Sakawa. And during the money management episode, you had suggested that I read Total Money Makeover. Or maybe you said something about my way of getting out of debt was similar to Dave Ramsey's.
Yes. So Dave Ramsey is a person that I have listened to in passing for years now, because when I'm driving, I'll just like throw it on and kind of listen to how... I find money management very interesting. Obviously, I am one of my passions is the crypto space, and the way that you manage your money. Not that I'm saying that he talks about crypto, but it's about investing and all that kind of stuff. And so yeah, I just have tuned into him.
I think what you're talking about is financial literacy, which is why
Exactly.
financial literacy or lack thereof, I feel like is something that is crippling this country. America in particular, the
Yes.
United States of America. And it's alarming, one, because it doesn't have to do with your intelligence, which I find is, like most things, like where you are in life, I feel like, if you're smarter, you're kind of better off, but financial literacy is just a category that you could have a PhD or be like very, very smart in many aspects, but in the financial literacy aspect, you just don't seem to be.
Yeah, smart people go broke all the time.
Right. And then similarly, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I've known high school dropouts that are millionaires, because this financial literacy thing. Financial literacy is defined as the ability to understand and properly apply financial management skills, effective financial planning, properly managing debt, accurately calculating interest, and understanding the time value of money are characteristics of being financially literate.
Yeah, and I think that it's really just an opportunity, right? Because everyone always says, "I'm going to do the, I'll get around to this."
Yeah.
Like setting up a financial plan, like actually sitting down and going, "I want to be a millionaire by the time that I'm retired," or any of that stuff.
But they don't really know the intrinsics of how that works, right?
Right? Or they're like, "I don't have time to figure all that out right now."
Yeah, it feels like a wall. Like it's like just. I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's fear. It's like, that seems like so much work. I don't want to do it.
Yeah, and I think that the beliefs that you were raised with and or have picked up about money directly influence your habits and how you've managed it. And if we want to go into like a semi-conspiracy theory, I think it's by design.
I do
Because
too.
wouldn't you know that companies make way more money having you owe them money
That's right.
than if you were to figure out how to responsibly pay them back?
I mean, there's a reason why, you remember that story a couple months ago, that credit card company was like partying in the Caymans?
I don't know, but I don't doubt it.
But the idea basically is that, while you
Suffer.
yeah, you're in debt, you're paying these exorbitant rates,
Yeah.
which you agreed to, right?
Yeah,
but still,
but no one teaches you how,
Exactly.
like, what the right thing to do is.
prey
What
on
you
you.
mostly hear is like, well, everybody has debt. Everyone has some sort of debt.
Right.
There's good debt. There's bad debt. Like the good debt helps you make money, right? And like, there's all these things that you hear, and these things that are normal and average to hear, and everyone just is kind of got okay with being fucking in debt. Like loads of debt, which it
And
does not have to be the case.
loads of politicians are owned by Barclays and all these big credit card companies. So
Yeah.
it's very much ingrained into our system.
Yeah. And it's some shit they don't tell you,
Mm-hmm.
which is why we're talking about it now. So one aspect of financial literacy is debt. And this book, Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey, is about his strategy of getting out of debt and getting out of debt quickly and never going back into debt. And I read the book in its entirety, and I'm going to go over it and then give you my opinions on it. So we'll talk about what he says, and then I'll give you my opinions on it. I can only really give you opinions on the things that I've experienced in this process, because there are some things that he mentions that I haven't tried out yet, so I really can't give you my full opinion on it.
Great.
And also just like, take it with a grain of salt, because like he's a millionaire, so even if I disagree with something, like I'll tell you why, but
Yeah, you disagree with somebody who's fabulously wealthy as a result of his own program. Yeah,
Exactly. So he's got the proof in the pudding. I'm just a freaking noob giving an opinion. But I will tell you like my actual thoughts. For the most part, I agree with it. So
Yeah.
there's that. A little background on Dave. So Dave was born in Tennessee. He graduated from the College of Business Administration, where he earned a Bachelor of Science degree in finance and real estate. So as a real estate investor, he actually became a millionaire really, really early. Like he had $4 million in the bank by 1986. He was like 26 years old or something like that. I forget. It doesn't really say his age, but I remember he was in his 20s. But then he got sued, and a bunch of like unfortunate events happened to him, and it wasn't. He himself has said that he built this fortune on a house of cards. Basically, he built it in real estate, but it was through lots of borrowing and loans and all this stuff that he was told he was supposed to do.
Yeah.
And he ended up losing everything within 3 years. And he had a newborn child or toddler, a new child. He was in a new marriage, and just had to file for bankruptcy, which is like, wow, that's how much fear do you have when that happens? That
Max
just makes my
ouchies.
heart sink. So then he went on and he developed this program because he had to get himself out of that situation, and he became a millionaire again. And so now he's like, the second way, I became a millionaire the right way, and he's sharing his strategies on how he got there, and he's also helped thousands of people achieve a similar thing. He also has a radio program that Steve was talking about called The Dave Ramsey Show, where he takes like callers and gives advice to people.
That's basically all I've heard
on his
him
program.
do. That's when I listened to it. He's just because people read the books, but then they have questions like you. I assume
Yeah,
do.
totally.
And then he advises them and stuff.
Because he gives like he gives a lot of examples, but it's pretty general, So if you have a specific thing where you're like, well, I can't tell from the book, do I do this or this? You can call in and he'll give you advice on that, which I'll go over. Once I go through the system, you'll understand the points where it's like, oh, I would have a tough time deciding between these two priorities.
He also does this thing called the debt-free scream, where when people are finally debt-free, they come into his studio, or I guess now they're on the phone, but
Yeah.
they scream, "We're debt-free," out loud, and I have to turn it off every time because it's so fucking
so
loud
loud.
and annoying. You know how I get with
But
noises.
if you were out of debt finally after being,
Oh yeah, these people were in hell. Some of them are like, this took 3 years and we didn't go out to eat once, and we were just like putting our noses down, and
Yeah.
but they did it. And like they're on baby step like 7, and they're on their way to becoming millionaires and shit. Like, it's
Yeah,
pretty
so
cool.
what Steve's talking about with baby steps is Dave Ramsey has like a series of, I think it's like 10 baby steps, and it breaks it down so that you can have a realistic plan for getting out of debt. And What I like about the book is it's a really fast read because most of it is just story after story after story of specific people that use the system and got out of debt, which is really great if you're, struggling and you're trying to get the stuff done. You're like, does this even work?
Yeah.
You read the stories and then you're like, okay, you stay motivated.
That's what I've always liked about listening to him is that he always has like, I'll hear a single mom call in. He's like, how much do you make a year? He's like, how much can you afford to put aside right now? And what are your bills?
Yeah.
And he's just very practical, just bullet that goes through it.
It's very relatable for sure. He does have a Christian perspective, which some people are like, oh, I don't know, it's religious. But he doesn't really use it that much. Well, I don't understand the criticism over
I didn't even know that.
religion. Yeah, because he talks about, purpose and God and stuff. And I'm like, good for you. Like, you found a purpose through religion. Like,
Sure.
people find their purposes through many different ways. But for him, it's Christianity. And, like, some people get, like, weird about it. I'm like, why? If that's two separate things. Like, he's helping you get out of debt.
Well, and it's not.
Who cares
I don't know,
how?
man. Yeah.
He doesn't say like go join a church and then you'll get out of debt. Like he
Right.
doesn't say that. He gives like really practical steps. He's just like motivated through, purpose.
Hey, look. I mean, it probably. I know people who tend to be more religious tend to be more charitable. So maybe there's.
Yeah, he talks about that too. So I just wanted to mention that because I feel like sometimes, or at least sometimes when I've brought him up, people are like, ugh, he's like this religious person, and they write him off, and I'm like, what? How do you
He's
just
known
write
for being a
someone off?
financial person, though.
I know.
Weird. All right.
I know. Weird. Anyway, so the
People
book.
can't wait to write people off, though. Just real quick.
I know.
It's like even if somebody's giving good advice, it's like, well, I heard this thing, and so it's like.
So
okay.
then that discounts everything they're saying.
Yeah, I'm like, dude. I mean,
That's why I had to mention it because I just don't like the whole like casting a label on someone and then that's their whole identity
it was
to
never
you.
for me. Yeah.
Okay, because he doesn't really bring it up that much.
I never even heard him bring it up.
Yeah. Okay. Exactly. So, Total Money Makeover. Here we go. Here, I'm going to give you what it is, and then I'm going to give you my opinions. So, he starts off the book by destroying myths around credit card usage and debt, specifically like buying a bunch of shit you don't need to impress people you don't like, the keeping up with the Joneses mentality that I feel like a lot of Americans succumb to, which I wasn't raised that way, so I didn't have those beliefs in me, but now being around a lot of people, especially in Los Angeles, many people operate this way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have friends that have fuck tons of debt, like a bunch of like student loan debt.
More than don't. How about that?
But they're like, I have to buy new furniture every year. And I'm like, what? That's like a new couch is like $2,000.
Yeah.
But they just feel like they need the newest thing every year. And like, I think it's because people think it'll fill this void of happiness. That's my theory on that.
No, we convince ourselves of certain things.
Yeah.
Right? Like we all have certain routines, certain practices that we convince ourselves fulfills our soul meter a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes we even just lean on that and use it as an excuse to spend money on something we don't need to.
And look, I have that too, but not to the degree of like
Destruction.
where I'm
Personal
where I'm willing to get in thousands of dollars more of debt on top of the debt I already have just to try and fulfill
if
that.
If you are doing that, we're not trying to attack you.
No.
We're talking about how to deal with it and hopefully use it for you.
Yeah, and just like the first part of this book is just like helping you question that part of you. Like just helping you like take a look at your reflection and like, do I like that? Is that making me truly happy? Or would I be a lot happier if I was out of debt? And that's
it's like Marie Kondo.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to get out of debt. You don't have to clean your house or like you don't have to get rid of a bunch of clutter. But would it make you happy if you did? Probably. And I think that this is important, this first part of the book, because mindset is everything. Like people are always like, but how do I get out of debt?
Yeah.
How do I become a millionaire? How? But if you don't have the basic mindset that gives you the habits that is going to continuously keep you going, you're going to slip. It doesn't matter if a million people tell you the exact steps of how, it's not going to happen for you because you're just going to go back to your unhealthy mindset. It's like being on a crash diet instead of forming good lifestyle changes.
Right.
So I really appreciate that this was in the front of the book because I do believe him that he's helped a lot of people by drilling this mindset up front because you have to commit. Like it's gonna be hard, and he has this motto that is, if you live like no one else, later you can live like no one else. Meaning if you make the sacrifices now that most people aren't willing to make, later you can live like they'll never be able to. And they'll wonder like why. Like sometimes when you start living this way, people will make fun of you because they're like, oh, you're driving like a really beat up car. Like your living situation is shitty.
Or
but
what do you mean you can't go out to eat? It's Friday night.
yeah.
Like we all just got paid.
There's a lot of peer pressure, like crabs in a bucket mentality going on. But if you know what your end goal is, and that's why mindset is so important, then you're not going to let that take you off the path.
And a lot of that's just people going, wait, am I supposed to feel guilty about this?
Yeah, it's their own projection.
Right.
It's like, it's like going on a diet. It's like anything, people make fun of you and like, oh, you can just gonna eat salad,
It's happened to everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
So this is just a money version of that. He also talks about how there's no such thing as good credit. Credit is basically evil. You should pay for everything in cash, including your cars and your houses. A lot of people just think that it's normal to always have a car payment. One of the myths that he talks about that I believe or the reason I bought a car and had payments was that I wanted to build my credit. And he talks about like if you have enough cash, you don't really need to build your credit. Mm-hmm. So I'll talk about my opinions on that a little bit. But and a couple other things that he mentions in this first part is, when most millionaires don't use debt the way people think they do. In fact, 75% of the Forbes 400 said the best way to build wealth is to become and stay debt-free. He also says to never co-sign on a loan because you'll probably end up paying for it, or you're going to hurt your credit score when the other person doesn't pay for it.
It's a huge financial risk.
Yeah, it's basically if you're going to co-sign on a loan with somebody, the reason the bank is not giving them the loan or giving them a good rate on the loan is because they're not trustworthy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So be prepared to pay that loan.
So then your friend or family member is basically going to you and saying like, hey, I need you to like be my shield.
Yeah.
And then you really are their shield if something goes down.
Yeah.
Like that's what's
And it
scary.
destroys relationships.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like even lending a friend like $50, like sometimes they'll stop talking to you if they can't pay you back.
Yeah.
Because they feel so guilty that they can't pay you back, and then it ruins your whole relationship. Yep. It's like you think you're helping them out, but you're not really like you're actually destroying your relationship with them probably.
Exactly.
And then also not using cash advance places. Because the interest is bananas on that. You are not getting a good deal. They bank on you like not being able to pay them. It's not good. It's no bueno. Get away from that as soon as possible. And then
if you can, yeah.
Also talking about never leasing a car or buying new. A new car loses 60% of its value in the first 4 years, and leasing a car is designed to have you cover the loss in value of that car, basically that you're going to have to turn back into the dealer, and then they sell to somebody and they never lose any money on it. You basically paid for that car for
I've
them.
never got into leasing for that reason.
Yeah, I've never leased a car either for that reason. I've never understood it at all. I mean, no one in my family does it, so maybe, I don't know.
So I have friends who do it, and they are addicted to getting the new car, and so they're basically paying a premium so that they can get the trade-in car.
That's what I'm talking about. I think it's the beliefs you were raised with, because since no one in my family or friend group has ever leased a car, and they've all been like, "Nah, it's the worst thing you could do." I've never thought about always having the newest car.
I got lucky on that one.
But here in LA, all of their friends are like, "I want to have the newest new," and that's just how they were raised. Like, having the newest new means you're doing well. It's like an image. It's an optics thing. It's a keeping up with the Joneses thing.
Exactly.
Okay, so here's one of my opinions on that first part. I agree and disagree. I agree that this is a great mentality to have, especially the mindset. If you have bad habits and you put stuff on credit without having the cash to back it up, or you don't have the discipline to pay the full thing off every month, then yeah, credit cards are a really bad idea for you. You probably won't build your credit if you don't have the habit of paying it off. You'll probably destroy your credit.
And by the way, we're two people who have credit cards. So
we do, yeah.
We're saying all this is best practices. It's not
I'm going to get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so mindset is the biggest part for sure. People want to know how, but then they, if you don't have that, you're going to go back. But learn the habits of only spending with cash first, because once you get that down, then if you want to open a credit card or get extra points or whatever, and this is against Dave Ramsey. This is why this is the part I disagree with, because I do have credit cards, but I pay them off twice a month. Like I pay the full balance off every month, and I pay it twice so that my credit score stays up, because you want that low ratio in order to boost your credit score.
Right.
So, but that was only after paying for everything in cash for years and years and years.
And you do it as a plan too, right? Like you plan on only spending a certain amount so you can pay it off every month.
Yeah,
no
it's all budgeted
Exactly.
too. So I put my utilities on credit card. I put gas, groceries, things that I was already going to pay for. They're already budgeted into the monthly account. I just put it on credit card because it boosts my credit score, and I get points or cash back or swag. I get credit card swag. We talked about this on Joe Jutsukawa's episode. But I really did have to develop that habit first of paying it off, because it's so easy to not pay it off.
Yeah.
It's so easy to you don't see that balance every month. You're not checking it all the time. You're only checking it when you see the bill come in. So it's super easy to forget about it if you're not putting alarms on your phone to pay it off immediately. So there's that. I think if you have the right mindset, you could open credit cards. But if you start buying a bunch of stuff you can't afford because you want it now and you have to have it, that's when it gets really dangerous. And then on making major purchases, such as buying a car, by the way, I'm really happy that by the time I read this book, my car's paid off, baby.
Hey girl, you did it.
Both of our cars are paid off. So we don't have debt on our cars. But I would really have to consider this point if my car wasn't paid off, because he kind of suggests selling it if it's not paid off and then buying a used car that you're paying for in cash. But I fucking love my car so much. It makes me happy, and every time I've made a major purchase where I'm like, ooh, it's right on the brink of I don't know if I can afford the monthly payments or not, it's always motivated me to make more money.
Yeah,
and I've always done that and made more money. But everyone's motivated differently, so I can't use that as general advice for everybody.
Well, yeah, because you find yourself in situations where if you do have an opportunity, you're more likely to take it because you need the money right now, or you're trying to get extra money.
Yeah, and also I brainstorm ways to make more income and have more passive streams and just multiple streams of income. And yeah, it just has always made me more creative. I also had my dad co-sign on that loan with me because my credit was shitty. It was really, really bad back then, 6 years ago.
It's 2013, right?
Yeah, and I had credit card debt, and I went through a breakup, and I didn't have an emergency fund like Dave Ramsey suggests, which I'll get to in a second. And I put a lot of stuff, I put rent on credit card, and then I couldn't pay for it because I was laid off of my job.
Wow.
Yeah, and so my credit got destroyed. 8 years of great credit, perfect credit, excellent credit, and then 3 months it was destroyed. And so my dad, knowing my history and really fucking trusting me and loving me, I love you, Dad. He has a great credit score, and he did co-sign on that loan. But because I have, just a huge, I never want to disappoint my dad, and that would be the end of the world to me to disappoint my dad. I made sure those payments went through every single month. I never missed one payment in 6 years. But it's case by case, you know? Do you trust everyone to do that? Do you trust everyone to have daddy issues that
True.
they're super scared of disappointing their father?
And by the way, early on, it wasn't so easy to say you were going to pay it off every month. I remember you were terrified when you got that car.
That fear motivated me to make a lot of money or make enough money to pay that car payment. So yeah, that's where I agree and disagree, because I'm like, well, I do agree in the general sense. This is really solid advice. And
he says, though, now I haven't read this, but he's saying when you sell your car, it's basically to aggressively pay off your debt, right? That's just one of the tools that you have. To
do the baby steps, yeah. Because if you're in tons of debt, then you shouldn't get into more debt by taking a car loan out and having payments. Exactly. You should. He suggests buying like a beater car, like a $1,000 car. You buy that, and then you save enough money that you can sell that car, and then get a $2,000 car, and you just kind of keep going up that way. But always buy a used car, because most of them were previously just leased cars, so they're still good cars. I believe in that strongly. Yeah, I believe that too. If I were to do it again, I would buy a used car in cash. Yeah, the only outlier would be if it was like an electrical car, because those batteries can be weird over time, and I just want to double check on that. But yeah, that's good advice, I think. Mm-hmm. He also talks about shifting your mortgage from a 30-year loan to a 15-year loan, and he uses examples. He does some math examples, like if you buy a $130,000 home, which you take out a $110,000 loan at 7%. This book is from 2003. Rates are much lower now. Final cost would be $238,520. So $100,000 more plus some of the original cost of the home after 30 years.
Why do you think it's a huge industry?
Exactly.
I mean, my God.
Or if you did this over 15 years, it would be $197,840. So the difference is just $256 extra per month. Go with the 15 years. You paid off 15 years early and you saved like $40,000 in that example. So that's
real money, man. It's not just on a piece of paper.
That's
right?
great.
That's real money.
Yeah. For us, it wouldn't be an extra $250 a month though. So it's a little bit different. But he has mortgage calculators on his site. So you can see like, oh, if I paid an extra $300 a month, how much sooner would I pay off my loan? And then how much money would I save in the interest, you know?
Great.
And it's pretty good. Like if we paid an extra $600 a month, we would pay off our loan 10 years early and save like $400,000 on interest.
Jesus.
Crazy. Okay. I'm going to take a break right here because after the break, I want to get into what the actual baby steps are in the plan. Because that was all, I think mindset is the most important part. If you don't have that or you're not willing to like get in that mindset, then I would stop here. Be like, I love my debt so much. I would stop here.
I love my debt.
I love my debt.
I'm keeping my debt, girl.
Scream that in your room. I love my debt.
Hey, are you looking for something to socially distance to do with your friends?
Yes.
Perhaps you could try out Best Fiends. I know that me and Nikki have done that, and we have been enjoying miles of content. They have thousands of levels on there. They have all kinds of new puzzles all the time. They have all kinds of characters in it. It's super fun.
Too,
yeah,
man.
they're very cute.
And they make you earn new characters to defeat bad guy characters, and it's really cute. I like earning things.
I do too, actually.
Yeah.
I like that. That's why I like collecting things and then knowing that I don't have enough things and I need to collect even more things.
Yeah, it makes me feel like I've actually done something in my life.
Same. My little brother plays this game with me, and I gotta say, I very much enjoy that interaction.
I bet I could guess your favorite level.
The ice level.
Yes.
The frozen hills.
Yes.
See?
So fun.
But you didn't guess it. I gave it away.
No, I was thinking it in my head.
Wow, you put it in my head.
Anyway, because that's one of my favorite levels too.
Best Fiends has thousands of levels already, with new levels, events, and characters added every single month. It's hours of fun right at your fingertips, and you can play offline. That's very important to me.
Yes.
With over 100 million downloads and tons of 5-star reviews, Best Fiends is a must play. So you can download Best Fiends for free on Apple App Store or Google Play. That's friends without the R. Best Fiends.
Okay, so we're back and you're ready. You made the decision. You're like, I want to get out of debt. I want to scream on Dave Ramsey's show. What are the steps that he talks about in his book, Nikki? Well, let me tell you. I'm going to get to it right now. Okay. He has baby steps. And the first baby step is save $1,000 for a baby emergency fund quickly. Quickly is the key thing here. Like, this shouldn't take like a year to save this $1,000. You need to do whatever the fuck you can to get this $1,000 like right now. So sell shit, pick up extra work hours, cut extra spending, whatever you got to do, you got to get this money ASAP. The reason being, like, once you have that padding, you're less likely to borrow more debt in the case of an emergency. If you have an emergency but no savings, you will probably open another credit card or put it on your credit card, right? That's what most people do when they get an emergency. Actually, most people in America don't even have $500 in savings.
Yeah.
Which is bananas, because if an emergency happens, it's definitely going to cost you more than $500. So this padding gives you a little peace of mind to start your journey. Emphasis on this being for emergencies only, though. So buying a new sofa on sale is not an emergency. Christmas is not an emergency.
Well, let's not.
Christmas is not an emergency. He goes, it's in December every year. They don't change it. It's not an emergency. Also, my parents always had this talk with us before Christmas. They'd always set the bar so low. Like, they made it sound like we're never getting any presents ever.
Wow.
And so I was like so thankful to get anything for Christmas. That's the way to do it, man.
Dude, my parents would do the opposite. They would talk it low, and then they would put everything on a fucking credit card.
Dang.
It's wild.
How'd that work out?
It was awesome for a couple years, but
For the
then
kids?
it bombed out hard later.
Yeah, dude. I just have never. I don't think anyone's life has been made or broken by Christmas presents. Like I never.
I think that when we got Halo, the first Halo game,
it changed your life.
and my dad also got a big screen TV because he already wanted one anyway, so we got it on Christmas and like wrapped it so
Yeah,
we could
yeah.
unwrap it. That was probably the best fucking Christmas ever. Yeah.
But did it change your life?
No, but it was sick for like
It was sick for a
many
year,
weeks,
right?
Many weeks.
So I feel many weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the whole point. Is that like
You ever play first?
it's such temporary pleasure.
You ever play that first?
No, I didn't. You know why? Because I didn't want to get sucked into needing debt.
Nice.
That's why. No, I just think that, yeah, teach your kids not to focus on material things, and you'll have a better time. I think especially if you're in debt. You know, if you have tons of money, like go nuts. I don't know.
Yeah, for real.
But yeah. So Christmas is not an emergency. Cars need repairs. Children will outgrow clothes. Those should be budgeted for, but they're not emergencies. A job layoff is an emergency. I would say a pandemic is an emergency.
Little bit.
An unforeseen medical situation, or if you have to pay like a deductible on your insurance, that's an emergency. But this $1,000 should be liquid cash. Don't put it in a CD. Don't put it in a bond. Don't put it somewhere where you think it's going to gather interest or whatever. No, just it has to be ready and available for you to use at a moment's notice. And I 100% agree with this thing here. The other thing, I don't know, your mind shifts too. When you go from being in tons of debt with no savings, and then all of a sudden you have $1,000 set away, you kind of like have this extra pep in your step.
You got a little moxie.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I would do when I was broke, right? But I remember the first time I put aside like $500 because I was like, okay, this is for emergencies. And I didn't even read this yet, but it changed me, because instead of walking down the street passing stores and be like, oh, I can never afford that. I can't afford that. I can't afford that. I would walk past things and I'd be like, I could if I wanted.
Yeah, dude, I do the same thing. I do the same
I
thing.
could buy that dress if I wanted.
I don't want to.
I have $500 in cash right now, but I don't want to because I have
same thing.
bigger goals.
Yep.
And right, it just changes, like it makes you
everything.
feel like, I could if I wanted. And then it motivates you to like save more because you like that feeling.
Yeah, and especially since I got interested in investing, I always see things as if it's not something I can make money off of, it's kind of stupid.
Yeah, it takes away from that goose egg.
Yeah, I basically stopped buying things like when I got the most interested in investing.
Because it's more exciting.
It's way more exciting.
Way more exciting to watch your money grow
Yes.
than to spend it on something that's going to give you temporary excitement. And I'm not
Exactly.
saying never to treat yourself, okay? I'm all for that. In fact, I go back and forth all the time, like, is this treating myself or is this being irresponsible? And you really have to weigh that for yourself. But
Well, I was telling my brother this a couple years ago, right? So we were buying this coin called Ethereum when it was worth a couple bucks.
yeah.
And I was like, hey, Nate. He's like, I don't have any money to do this right now or anything like that. I was like, hey, how about this? How about we both agree to do this? We'll just spend what you would have spent at Taco Bell tonight on Ethereum. And we made thousands.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like just from Taco Bell money. So
You know, I watch a channel called Graham Stephan. Shout out. He's got really good financial advice too, if you are just wanting to be more financially literate. And his whole thing, his mindset, which he's very frugal, and I don't know if I could ever be as frugal as him, but he's a millionaire. But his whole mindset is every dollar you spend today will be worth $10 30 years from now. I think it was $10. It will be worth $10 30 years from now. So he thinks about like every time he spends $1 on like coffee, if it's $5, that's $50 30 years from now, and that adds up over time.
Right.
And so it makes him really think even about small purchases, if it's something he really needs or if it's worth it. Because if you just put your money into, I think, like index bonds, you'll have your money be worth 10 times what it is in 30 years.
Yep.
Adjusted for the rate of inflation. That's not
But it's very
a
boring,
lot,
Nikki.
but
It's very boring to do that right
super
now.
boring. It's not sexy.
It's not that
It does
fun.
not make me horny.
Yeah, you don't get to go to Taco
My
Bell
nipples
tonight.
do not get erect from it.
Exactly.
However, think of yourself 30 years from now. She's going to be like, thank fuck you didn't buy
Exactly.
that latest makeup palette.
Exactly.
You know? So I think about her all the time. And I agree with that step. step number 2, baby step number 2 is start the debt snowball method. Paying off every debt except for your house. And this is what Dave is famous for, this debt snowball method. This is what actually got brought up in our money management episode, was that I said that I had a really aggressive strategy for paying off debt. It's not the same as this, but it made you think of this debt snowball, which is very
He's
similar.
all about it.
It's about being aggressive with attacking your debt. And so Ramsey supports the debt snowball method, through which debtors pay off their lowest balance debt first rather than paying off their highest interest rate debt first. While this approach has been criticized, research done by Kellogg School of Management has found that the debt snowball method is generally pretty effective. The small victories give debtors motivation. So it's like if you're on a new diet or a new workout plan and you lose a pound or 2 right away, you're way more motivated to continue that plan than if you're just like gaining weight or not moving at all, right?
Or dude, when I'm cleaning up a room, if I clean up like the smallest area first, it just motivates me to get the rest of it done. That's the same shit.
Same.
Yeah.
It's weird. Psychology plays a huge role in this, guys. Like it's not just practical, like, oh, of course, well, if you do the math and you pay this off, it's really, we are human beings. We are not robots. You really have to examine the psychology behind your choices. And
you have to realize that your choices are heavily, heavily influenced all the time by all things.
Yes.
By the commercials you listen to.
As much as you want to think of yourself as a logical creature, you are ruled by your emotions. I'm sorry, you are.
Exactly.
You're ruled by your emotions. We're emotional creatures. We are.
And when you step outside, there's signs everywhere telling you where to spend your money, how to spend your money, how to get a deal.
Yeah.
What the deal is.
And if marketing didn't work, there would be a lot of people with no jobs right now.
That's right. And if the bullshit didn't work, everything wouldn't be blah blah 99.
Yeah.
Right? Why is it blah blah 99? Because it psychologically makes you think it's the same dollar that goes before it.
If it's $19.99, well, that's cheaper than $20.
Yeah. It's only $19.
Yeah.
Well, it's not. It's $20.
Exactly. And so when he's talking about listing all of your debts, you're listing all of your debts in ascending order, including little ones like a little parking ticket here, a debt you owe to your parents. Maybe you owe your mom $50 for a dinner 3 months ago. What you list all of them. And then what you do is you commit to pay the minimum payment on every debt. You determine how much extra can be applied towards the smallest debt. And then you pay the minimum payment plus the extra amount towards that smallest debt. So you start at the tippy top, that $50 payment to your mom, anything extra. So maybe you could pay off that whole one right away. And then you're like, holy shit, I just got rid of one debt.
Yeah, exactly.
And then now you have an extra $50 and you apply it to that next debt the next month, right? And once a debt is paid in full, you add the old minimum payment plus every extra amount available from the first debt to the minimum payment on the second smallest debt. And then it just snowballs, right? You apply the new sum to repaying the second smallest debt until that is paid off. And what happens, they call it a snowball because you continuously have this extra money left over because you're no longer paying the minimum payments on those smaller debts. You're now applying them towards the larger debts. And not only does this motivate you more having some of these debts paid off, but it also, you don't even realize, oh my God, I have this extra money now a month, and
you're in the gym, you're seeing results.
Yes, you're seeing little baby muscles form.
Yep.
Little abs. Oh God, I want an ab so bad.
Oh, abs would be fun.
Every time I try to get an ab, I get like half of one, and then I'm like, time for chips. Don't do that with your money. Don't go, I have extra $35 a month. I'm gonna go buy a dress.
I'll get the blue corn tortilla chips. Those won't give me abs.
No.
It's like, aw.
Fuck. Put them in guac. It's a good kind of fat.
That's a good fat.
It's a good fat, right? So the theory works as much on human psychology. By paying the smaller debts first, the individual, couple, or family sees fewer bills as more individual debts are paid off, thus giving ongoing positive feedback on their progress towards eliminating their debt. Yeah. If you have to dip, this comes up a lot.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm working on my debt snowball, right? Or like I have my first step done. I got my $1,000 in an emergency fund. Now I'm working on my debt snowball. I got a couple of these debts paid off, but then an emergency happens. I had to pay, like the AC went out. You're in the valley, the AC goes out. You got to have that AC fixed.
That's an emergency.
You're going to die. So that's an emergency. It's like $650, right? Let's say it's $650.
Even if it's Christmas, because it could be very hot.
Especially if it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you're going to go to your emergency fund. You take $650 out of that $1,000, and that's gone now. So the question is, do I continue doing the debt snowball, or do I go back to step one and replenish that $1,000? And the answer is you go back to step one and you replenish the $1,000, because the thing is that savings is going to dwindle out. It's soon going to be non-existent if you do not replenish it. And once it's non-existent, you're likely to go back into debt, which will defeat all of your progress. So do the same shit again, start selling shit, work extra hours, put some stuff on Etsy. I don't know, whatever you want, whatever you have to do, get that $1,000 back to where it was.
Do you take away from the amount that you're paying towards credit cards to replenish?
Not the minimum payments. You always have to stay with the minimum payments, but that
aggressive,
extra,
Okay.
The aggressive part, I could put it back to that $1,000.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so after you've done the debt snowball, you're like, holy fuck, I never thought all my debts were going to be paid off. And I think, I didn't write this down, I should have written it down, but he puts the average, in the book, he talks about the average time it takes to get through these steps. It's something like 2 years, okay? So, don't think that people are going through this lightning speed and you're all behind. Like, it takes sacrifice and work, but during this time, you're developing all these habits. Like, it's becoming second nature to you. So, good. That's a good thing, okay? So it's going to take like 2 years and some change to get through those steps on average.
But think about how recently 2018 was, right? We're in 2020.
Oh my God.
It feels like it was just yesterday.
We got married over 3 years ago.
Exactly.
What the hell?
So think about that, right? And like, oh my God, that was recently, and I could have been out of debt by now, and it's time to, I don't know. I just think that's good.
And that
good
debt is like it's such a weight on your shoulders.
I used to put my head down on the pillow every night thinking about how I owed money.
It just makes you feel like
it's
like
dread,
shit. Like you
terror.
can never get ahead.
Yeah.
Like you'll never have the life you want.
You honestly just get to the point of like, fuck it. Because you're like, well, I'm already fucked with debt.
Yeah.
So when you get paid, you're almost cynical about your money because you're like, fuck it anyway. Because my money fucks me anyway.
Ooh, I've done that on a diet before where like,
yes,
I'm like, fuck it, I'm already fat, or I'm already not losing weight, so I'll just eat chocolate cake, and that's what I'm gonna eat.
You know what I mean?
Very unhealthy.
It's that's why everything really is so psychological. Like this is entirely a psychological issue that people have. Like,
yeah.
Where they make money in America, you probably make like, better than like the top rest of the world as far as percentage wise, like above poverty level. So it's remarkable that more people aren't capable of saving even $500, like you said.
Yeah, because a lot of people aren't willing to delay pleasure. That's the thing.
Right.
We've just gotten so accustomed to everything. We want it now, fast food, like right now. I want it now.
Right.
Like me when I'm waiting for the Postmates, I'm like, I want it now.
Yeah, man, and when everything is psychologically tailored to get you to spend your money, you can totally see why. It's like there's like I was saying earlier, it's not an accident they put the $5.99. Like they're doing it to influence you. Like once you understand that the world is kind of set up that way, then you can start to.
You don't want to be a cog in the wheel anymore.
You can see the code and you can start to fight back a little bit.
That's what they call the rat race. When people like talk about the rat race, like that's what it is, and the majority of people are in it, and there's a reason for that because it keeps you working hard for the people that are out of the rat race.
That's right, for the people who have assets.
Yes.
While you pay debt, they have assets.
Exactly.
They use your debt to buy more assets.
Yep. It's monopoly, man. You keep landing on everyone's properties.
Dude.
Keep having to pay out your asshole, but you don't have your own property, so no one's paying you out their asshole.
And then they get to print all the money, right?
Yeah.
Drive down the value of the dollar while they hoard assets that go up in value because the value of the dollar has gone so down. It's wild.
It's wild. Once you can get to the other side, then you're like, oh, shit, what? You see it so clearly.
You have to beat the game, and you have to play it to beat it.
So once you're out of all that debt, you're like, hell yeah, I'm fired up. Okay, baby step number 3 is Oh, by the way, I was saying whether I agree or disagree on things. I 100% agree on that strategy. That's great.
On which strategy?
The snowball debt.
Yeah,
debt snowball.
It's really good.
Because my way was paying off 50% each month. That's really hard, but if you can do it, and if you can like really get disciplined and sell all your shit and like do whatever you can to pay 50% off each month, it's like it is also a snowball. It's like the next month I only have to pay 50% of this smaller amount, and then 50% of this smaller amount until it gets to the point where I could pay off the whole thing. Regardless of how you do it, getting out of debt, always great. I think it's great when you have a plan. The plan is the best part. The plan gives you hope. The plan is like, I can do this, when a lot of people feel hopeless. So baby step number 3, you're fired up. You're going to finish that emergency fund. Because remember that $1,000 was a baby emergency fund. You want to be able to have 3 to 6 months of expenses in savings because you don't know what's going to happen. You know, we didn't predict this pandemic. A lot of people right now listening, like we've been laid off, you know? We've had income hits, you know, that are totally unexpected. At the beginning of the year, we met with our tax team. They're like, how much are you anticipating? I'm like, well, I already have this job. So probably at least this amount by mid-year. Yeah. And all those numbers went to the trash can because no one predicted this pandemic. No. And that's kind of what we're talking about is like, if you have 3 to 6 months of expenses saved up, you don't go into panic mode and get in tons of debt, which is it's just so nice, like peace of mind to have. So figure out what it would take for you to live for 3 to 6 months if you lost your income right now and save that amount. So go in your budget, look at what you have to have that to survive. So for us, it's mortgage payment, utilities, food, gas. Yeah. I think that's it.
That's it.
Okay. Those 4 things, I need to be able to cover those 4 things.
So now you're building almost like you just did with the Rainy Day Fund and then the debt snowball, you're building a fund of your 6 months of expenses.
Yes. Okay. So you have that 1,000 to start, and now you're gonna now you have all this money because you don't have all this money, but you have the money that you would have been putting towards debt. Yeah. You now have that extra chunk that you're now gonna be putting into savings. Yeah. You don't get to spend it yet. I'm sorry, baby. We'll get there, but making sure you have this fund is, oh my God, we're all gonna face something that you're gonna need it. You know, everyone in like within, I think there's a statistic that's like every single person within 10 years, they'll face something where they're going to need a 3 to 6 month emergency plan. Yeah. Plan. Why can't I talk? Yeah. Emergency plan. You're going to be happy that you did it. So do that. And then this money has to be liquid. Do not use this money for investments. Do not use it to start a business. There will be another step for that. Also, don't put it into like a CD. You'll incur a penalty if you have to use it. Don't put it into a Roth IRA. Don't do any of that, okay? Put it into I use a high interest, well, quote unquote, high interest savings account. It's not very high anymore. It's like 1%, but that's the highest you're going to get.
Better than your bank's giving you, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, true. I use Ally personally, but there are other, I think Capital One 360. There's a couple out there. Do some research. You could find one that has like a 1 to 1.5% interest rate. The interest rate doesn't really matter. Like you're not getting rich off of this emergency fund. It's just nice that they're going to give you an extra $30 or whatever.
It's something, dude. Some banks are thinking about charging people just for having their money there.
That's insane.
Yeah, well, it's happening.
It's insane that because the banks use your money.
Damn straight. They use your money
to loans.
Exactly.
All right, well, fuck the banks. They're the assholes. They get bailed out all the time. Uh-huh. Anyway, I could go on a rant about that, but I won't. The point is, find a high interest yield savings account, put your fucking emergency fund there. You'll be really happy to see it growing every month. You'll be like, oh my, especially if you're not in a state of an emergency. Another thing Dave says in his book a lot is the worst time to borrow money is when you're in an emergency. Yeah. But yet that's the time when most people start to borrow money. Yep. Because they don't have this set aside. So yeah, do that. Do it. Let this money grow. Okay. Then you're on to baby. Once that's set aside, 3 to 6 months of an income of expenses, you're gonna go on to baby step number 4, which is invest. The fun part, right? Yes. You like this part. Is my favorite part. Investing. Invest 15% of your income in retirement. You want to maximize retirement investing and be financially healthy for life.
Oh, so boring to do retirement though.
I know, but here's the thing. It's boring to talk about retirement, but I do like the way he redefines retirement. The way he redefines retirement is not, quote unquote, saving enough money to quit the job I hate. If you hate your career path, you should change it. You should do something with your life that lights your fire and like lets you use your gifts. Don't wait till 65 to do what you love. I love that. Yeah. Like a lot of people think that it's just, I got to work at this stupid job. And that's going to drain you in other areas, not financially maybe, but spiritually, emotionally. Like you don't want to try and start living your life at 65. Like find something you love to do for your career, but also save for retirement so you have choices later. So he says, Retirement means investing with the goal of security. Security means choices, meaning that work is an option. You can, once you're in retirement, you can choose to work, or you can choose to go build houses for people in a different country, or
whatever fuels you.
Yeah, you can choose to go take piano lessons. Get whatever you want. You get choices when you have security. So reach the point where your money works harder than you do. I 100% agree with this. I like this a lot. Also, when you don't have any payments except for a house payment, all that debt in the debt snowball, that's not including your house payment. Everything except for your mortgage.
Gotcha.
He does very much emphasize that you should get onto a 15-year mortgage payment plan. But
he's so emphatic about that.
He's very emphatic about that. I have thoughts on that I'll get to later. But that debt snowball is not including your mortgage. So don't think that you have to wait till all that's done. Okay.
I just always hear him go, cut up your credit cards. Just get rid of them. He's got kind of a NASCAR vibe.
Oh, I've never heard the radio show. Yeah. I'll have to listen. But when you don't have any payments but a house payment, and you have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses and savings, it's easier to invest heavily. Why not invest more than 15%? Well, you need some of the income for the other 2 steps that he talks about, which is college savings for your kids, and then finishing paying off your house. And then why not invest less than that if you want to get those things done faster? Like some people want to get child through school faster or pay off their home super fast. He doesn't recommend that because kids' college degrees won't feed you at retirement. And he doesn't recommend paying off the house first because he's met too many 75-year-olds with a paid off house and no money to eat. They end up selling the home or mortgaging in order to eat or feed themselves. You need a retirement savings working that lets the magic of compounded interest work for you. The sooner the better. So don't try to cheat this. Just put away 15%, and then we're going to use the rest of the money for other things. Also, when it comes to this retirement account, Dave likes mutual funds. He cites a 12% average return on investment in the long term. I'm not really sure on that. Some people have criticized that that's a really high average amount, but he says that growth stock mutual funds and looking at funds who have a track record of winning for more than 5 years, preferably more than 10 years, will net on average of 12% in the long term. Not good short-term strategy, but like long-term. He has a whole like breakdown on his website at daveramsey.com of like what he puts his money in. But I don't know. This is where I'm like, I don't know yet because I'm not there yet. I haven't seen what a mutual fund can do or whether that's accurate for me. I've been reading other books on Warren Buffett strategies and another one by John Bogle. He really wants index bonds. So there's a lot of different strategies at this point. I just feel pick the one that you feel is the best for you for retirement, but pick something. Also, max out your tax advantages. Use your 401k if you have company matching at your job that does company matching in 401k. Let's say they match the first 3% of your income, then put the first 3% of your income in the 401k. And then after the 401k, you're going to go to Roth IRAs. Roth IRAs allow you to save money for retirement tax-free until you pull it when you retire. There are some limitations on Roth IRAs though, like you have to be in a certain income bracket. I think you can't make more than $200,000 a year, something like that. It might vary by state. I'm not really sure. Look into it. Okay, Google it. I'm not your Google, but I'm just telling you the steps.
We're not your Google.
I'm not your Google, okay? But I'm letting you know the steps. And then he has, I like this part of the book too. He has a whole chart on like what will it take to retire. Like, so based off the ROI, the return on investment, and the rate of inflation, how much money would your nest egg have to be in order to retire on the annual income you want? So for example, if you want a $30K a year income to retire on, your nest egg would have to be $375,000. And then there's a chart like based on your age, how much per month you would need to save to achieve this by age 65. In this example, if I'm 30 years old, I would need to put away $163.50 per month to reach my nest egg by 65. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Crystal clear.
There you go. That's your retirement. Baby step number 5 is college funding. Do this part also, like I don't have kids yet, so I don't really like have an opinion on this, but basically I'll give you the cliff notes is just do research on how much college costs right now and then adjust for inflation.
And me and Nikki are going to be doing research on how much it costs to send your kid to plumber school.
Right.
Because we're super into that right now.
Or coding school.
Coding school's pretty sick,
You want your kid to avoid student loans. A lot of people are just up to their eyeballs in student loan debt right now, just like try to help them avoid that.
Just honestly take them somewhere and just breathe with them.
Aw.
Yeah. Give them a hug and breathe with them.
You're the friends that are in debt?
Yeah, that are in student loan debt. Yeah, Jesus H.
Yeah, so Dave recommends only paying in cash for college or a scholarship, and he suggests an ESA, or it's an educational savings account. It's funded in a growth stock mutual fund, and then it grows tax-free when used for higher education. So if you started from the time the baby was born, I guess there's like a limit on how much you can put in, but if you started from the time the baby was born to when they're college age, you have more than enough to send them to like any college.
Oh, I see. I was like, how the fuck could you pay for college with cash? But he's saying build enough through the money that you're putting aside to pay for your kids' college with cash.
Yes. So after you put away 15% in your retirement, then you're going to start doing this college funding. Any money left over.
I was just getting a kick out of imagining someone going to pay for their college and they're going, oh, I'd like to pay with cash, please. And they have a briefcase.
Oh, you mean like a briefcase full of actual dollar bills?
Yeah.
I see. Yeah, no.
Got it.
No, just like not on credit.
Love it.
Yeah. There you go. So yeah, I got no experience in that field. That sounds legit.
This is for your kids though. This is for you. If you're in student loan debt right now, we're not telling you go pay it off with cash.
Well, you would have had to pay that off in the debt snowball before getting to this step. Yep. So I don't know. My aunt and uncle, they have 3 kids and they put them all through college. They paid in cash, which was really cool. Wow. They paid for their college. However, their kids basically took a loan out with them. So like their kids are going to pay them back that money.
I love it.
That way their kids are not in student loan debt to the government, but they also aren't losing that much money on putting their kids through college.
And their kids are more responsible about the fucking college thing, man.
Yes.
Because so many people, I gave my brother my car when I was, 20 years old. I gave my brother my car and he blew it up in 3 months because he didn't give a shit about
it's not
it.
His.
He didn't buy it.
Oh, I was so bad to my first car because it was bought for me.
Yeah, and I know other people. I have cousins who go to college. They don't give a fuck and they partied the whole time. Didn't do anything. Didn't learn anything. Didn't get anything out of it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just such a joke because they didn't put the work in. So I like the idea of. Yeah. I think our kids will pay us back.
Right? That's pretty cool, right? I like that. And it teaches them to be responsible, also to like get a job. A lot of parents are scared to like have their kids work a job while they're going through college, but it teaches them responsibility. It teaches consequences, teaches time management, money management. I'm all for having a job while going to college. Okay, so that's done. And then you're going to move on to baby step number 6, which is pay off the home mortgage. So that's all the way down to 6. You got 15% of your income working towards you in retirement. You got some going to college funding, like $2,000 a year going to college funding. Now you're going to pay off your home mortgage. There's a calculator, like I talked about earlier, on his website, daveramsey.com, for how much money you could save by paying it off early. By paying a couple $100 more a month, you could usually get your mortgage payment down to the 15-year plan, which sounds good, right? You save hundreds of thousands of dollars doing it that way.
Sucky's big time until it's been 15 years.
And then you're like, I'm so glad I don't have another 15 years. Because like us now, that's the difference between it getting paid off when we're in our 60s or when we're in our 40s.
Wild.
That's a huge difference.
Wild.
Yeah. So I'm all for that. If once you get to this step, you should have that amount of money. He also recommends, though, not having your mortgage take up more than 25% of your take-home income. And this is the part I get hung up on because, I don't know, our field is different. Yeah. We're self-employed.
Yeah, it fluctuates.
And we work from home, which is like, I know a lot of people right now, it's a weird time because everyone's working from home. But like, working from home, I really couldn't stay because he's like, if your mortgage is more than 25% of your take-home income, you should downsize. But I feel like because we're working from home, we're writing off basically half of our house to home office because they are home offices. Literally, Steve has an office and I have an office.
Should be fucking more even, frankly, because
true,
we use the whole house for what we do.
But if it can be used as personal space too, it's not supposed to be counted.
Right.
Anyway, we'll get into tax law with you. But so from my perspective, if half of it is a business expense, or is like it's a business expense, then really only half is personal. And then in that case, then it is 25% of our take home pay. The last
It really is.
half.
I mean, we use our upstairs bedroom closet to film podcast episodes sometimes, folks.
That's true. The bonus episodes that go on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/sticky, you can hear our shit they don't tell you after dark, where we get real sexy and real vulnerable.
It's very personal. But we do that in our bedroom closet. We get use out of our home office.
We do. Yeah. So I went back and forth like it's definitely more than 25% of our take home pay, but a lot of it is business expense. So figure it out for you. I'm not your Google, okay?
We're
Google
not your
it.
Google, okay? Stop asking.
So the last step, we're at the fun part, is step number 7. Oh, so there's 7 steps, not 10. 7 steps. Baby step number 7 is build wealth. Yes. Yay. So that's probably the time where people are calling in like, I'm debt free.
Yeah.
So finally, the fun part is building the wealth. You have now all this extra money. If you've already put all the stuff towards retirement and stuff, well, maybe you have now extra money. You don't have a home mortgage. You don't have debt. You don't have college payments. You don't have any of this.
Feels good.
It's just all fun money, right?
We did it.
So you get to use this money to either invest further. You could use this towards investments. It kind of gets to that part of Monopoly where you combine the houses and you build hotels. It's like you already have the house when people land on it, but now I can get more money from that investment.
Dude, put
your money makes money.
Boardwalk Park Place, man. Get all the hotels in there.
Yeah.
Oh, my brother lands on that. He's fucked.
And then Dave Ramsey suggests simple investments, just keeping it really simple. People get really complicated with investments. They end up spending so much money on money managers and all kinds of people to take care of the money, and it ends up costing them more than it's. Just keep a simple investment, okay? So he says his mix is mutual funds and debt-free real estate. So he pays for real estate in cash, not a briefcase full of actual dollar bills, but liquid cash, boom, no debt, real estate. And he also is like the other part of having this extra money is giving. So giving feels good, and also this should be something you're doing along the way of your journey. Even at baby step number 1, volunteering time, just like giving is just, it feels good. It also is putting this energy into the universe. It's like you give, you receive what you give. It's like a reciprocation.
Yeah.
Right? Like just get in tune with the universe, man.
Nice.
The universe will reciprocate what you're putting out there.
Hey, dude, we've done guided meditations on the show. We're already pretty woo-woo.
That's true.
We're
okay,
good.
I'm woo-woo. Okay,
Yeah,
I like our mix of logic and woo-woo,
Me
though.
too, it's fun.
I feel like if you're one or the other, it's just too extreme.
Well, and how cool is this? We just did this episode about why you should not get credit cards. And we did a whole thing with Joe Jessica about how to use credit cards to win. So we go both sides. It's fun. We have fun.
Hopefully we've been pretty clear in the explanations of those too, because I think for in general, if you've had problems with debt, get on the cash only side.
Yes.
But then once you've developed habits and you're kind of out of debt, you could build credit. You know how to responsibly handle it.
Right.
And if at any point you aren't responsibly handling it, go back to cash.
Yeah.
So I get Dave Ramsey's method, but also I'm like, I'll take what works for me and I'll leave the rest. But he talks about all these stories about giving, and I'm just like, man, I want to get to that point.
Yeah.
Or he talks about this one Santa Claus guy who started this tradition of just like giving away $100 bills on Christmas. He would dress in Santa suit and he would just give $100 bills to people that he thought could use it, or just random people. And
dude, I hear a couple stories of that every year. People going into Walmart and buying everything on layaway for everybody who has their stuff on layaway, because it's usually people who are in financial situations. So I hear that every year.
I love
people
that.
like that who are, it's pretty
just,
awesome.
It feels good
Must.
to gift people stuff, I like that a lot. I mean, currently, I'm not at this step, but I always try to make it a point to donate a certain percentage of my income towards different charities, and charities switch up all the time every year. But it just feels good. Yeah, for sure. Because you're like, I'm making a difference outside of myself. Yes. Outside of my personal gain. That's what it's all for. Yeah. Anyway, well, wow, we just wrapped up at almost exactly an hour. I was expecting this to go way over. Well, but in general, overall, I really enjoyed this book. I think it was solid advice. There were parts of it where I'm like, he has stories of, if you can't afford this, go live in a tiny house until you can. And sometimes, like for me personally, I'm more motivated by having a little extra push of fear to like make me make more money. Yeah. But in the overall grand scheme of this book, I agree.
Yeah, and when, anytime anybody's giving you advice, you take what sounds good, you don't what doesn't sound good. Like it's all about tailoring an experience for you.
The biggest part though is the mindset. I'm telling you,
I agree.
If you are going to try this out, you cannot half-ass it. You cannot be like, well, I'll dip my toes in. You have to be like, I'm making a decision right now. I'm going to commit to it. It's going to happen no matter what. He calls it gazelle-like focus, or Giselle. Is it gazelle or
Gazelle?
Gazelle-like focus, where he uses this example that like when a cheetah comes to try to eat a gazelle, he only is successful 1 out of 10 times because most of the gazelles, they sense the cheetah and then they scatter.
They're
and they
springy,
just
man.
run. Yeah. And they get away.
They got pogo
So
stick
you have to
legs.
have gazelle-like focus to get away from the cheetah. Otherwise, you're going to get swallowed by that cheetah.
He's right, because there's so many credit card cheetahs out there.
There are.
Trying to get you.
Yeah. And so I truly believe, and this is not just for this, but for any goal. If you're going to jump in, you need to commit full force or you're not going to see the results you want.
Start to see the math, too, man. When you turn on the TV and Samuel L. Jackson's shilling credit cards at you. It's time to see how you get worked.
And
right?
it's going to be hard too. Like when you sell your car that you really like to buy a less cool car, and people are buying cars and now going to dinners and doing cool stuff, and you're like, do I really want to get out of debt this bad? Like you gotta keep this in mind. Like you gotta keep the end goal in mind that like, yes, it actually feels really, really good to make these sacrifices for a couple years and then live like how you want to live.
I hear what you're saying, but Tina Fey just had a lot of fun shopping with her credit card.
Shopping is fun.
Yeah, and just charging everything on it, and it's like really fun.
You know what's like? I like to gamify things. I think that's how credit cards get you too. Is like, making a game out of you get this many points if you spend it on this, and this many points on that. Well, if you make getting out of debt a game, that's also fun.
I agree.
Like giving yourself stickers or whatever the hell. I would give myself a treat at the end of the week. That little thing where you're like, am I treating myself or is this irresponsible? I would get a treat, but my treat was limited to a $5 maximum.
That's
right?
great.
And sometimes I would just be like $5 a little too steep even. So I would just get a 99-cent little nail polish and I paint my nails, and it made me feel so good for the week. Like I earned this treat. It gave me the same exact feeling as spending $200 on some clothes.
I like your method of going to wherever a website you like or Amazon or whatever, filling up your shopping cart and not getting anything.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I've never regretted not buying something.
Yeah,
I've never gone like, I should have bought that shirt. Never.
I've never been in more financial trouble than when I was filling some sort of hole or void with purchasing things.
Yeah.
It was just stupid and empty.
Yeah, it doesn't. And in the long run, you just fuck yourself.
Yeah.
You're just like, why did I do that?
And every dollar that I spent back then did shit for me in the future.
Exactly.
And that's what outrages me about it the most. It actually makes me mad, which is good because it reminds me when I do see those things that I don't want them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, let me know if this episode was helpful for you. If you want more financial literacy episodes, I mean, we hadn't done a lot of them until like this year. I feel like we've done a few, and I think they're really helpful. And it improves other areas of your life when like you feel like you have your finances under control.
Yeah, and even if now's not the time, it's about maybe building your mindset towards when it is the time to do it. So,
do you know that finances is the number one reason couples get divorced?
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised.
It's crazy. That'll eat you up. So anyway, that's some shit they don't tell you.
Yep.
Rate us on iTunes, 5 stars, please, if you liked it.
Thank you. It helps so much.
Also,
tell friends.
If you want to get some bonus episodes every month, we do We do a bonus episode of Shit They Don't Tell You After Dark on our Patreon on patreon.com/sticky. We also do a different kind of podcast called We Just Woke Up, where we do like a stream of consciousness thing.
Yep. After we just woke up in the morning.
After we just woke up in the morning, and there's some little gems in there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Figure it out. I'm not your Google. Go Google our
We're
Patreon.
not your Google.
We love you guys.
Thank you for this episode, Nikki. That was really well prepared.
Thank you. I wanted to do the best job I could. Also, just check out Dave Ramsey. And also, if I made any mistakes, let me know. I don't know.
And I appreciate all the advice that you gave, but I heard that he's a pretty hardcore Christian, so I'm not going to take the advice.
So don't take the advice. Go spend on credit cards.
That's what I'm going to do. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.